Stephen, welcome to the pod.
Thank you for having me.
So the business is Sleepyhead, and it's really focused on being an excellent mattress topper. Is that right?
Yeah, so premium mattress topper for college students, university housing, and anyone else that sleeps.
And when did you start the business?
2016.
Were you in college when you started it?
Yep. I was in school at the time and realized everyone uses these blue mattresses. You can't really exchange those, and people were bringing mattress toppers and felt like it was a really good market to go after.
And so a mattress topper basically just makes the mattress more comfortable.
Correct. Yeah. More
Yeah.
comfortable, more hygienic. There's dozens and dozens of students that have slept on that mattress before you. So that's a
Yeah.
big key, factor as well.
And did you have a background in bedding or anything like that before?
No, I was just an entrepreneur at heart and had a couple little businesses prior to Sleepyhead that showed me the light of the business world, I guess you could say.
And so when you started it, did you receive a grant or anything, or were you just like, I like this idea. I'm gonna go ahead and build it. I'm gonna bootstrap it, and one thing led you to the next. Or were you like some part like a part of an entrepreneurial program or anything like that?
Yeah, I was at the university. It's called Cal State Northridge, and they had an entrepreneur program. And so the first semester that I was there, it's a 4-year university. So I had transferred there and they had a fast pitch competition the first semester that I was there. So it was like a 2 to 3 minute fast pitch. And I ended up placing second at that event. And that kind of gave me motivation to be better and do better and so forth. And I had felt really strong about that pitch. And so I ended up going in the second semester. They had what's called the bull ring, which is like Shark Tank style. So there was like 90 companies all the way from undergrads, graduate students to PhD that could compete in this. And it ended up going from 90 companies to 20 to then I think five competed on a final like stage in front of 300 plus students and judges. And I ended up winning that competition. And that was $20,000 cash and then a $15,000 grant and like services. So that was really awesome. And that kind of solidified the idea, gave us enough money to start a website, and we just went from there.
So did you drop out of the school, or did you finish college while building this?
Nope, I finished college. I ended up transferring to San Diego State University after I won that competition. I just felt that SDSU was a better school for me to finish my degree. And I ended up graduating. And around the same time that I graduated, I raised a little bit of capital. So all of this was done while I was in school, which is crazy to think about.
Okay, so now you've graduated college and you're starting to build this out. Do you have a founding team, or do you have any co-founders? What's your team set up at that stage?
I didn't. I'm unique in that sense. I was a solo founder. I had always had the drive in me to just do things by myself because I knew I was the only person I could rely on. But nonetheless, I had friends, girlfriends, etc., help me along the way as I was going. I've been doing this for almost 9 years now. So there were people that played a small part in whether it's an employee, you want to call it, or a contractor, consultant. And really, I just call them friends at the end of the day. But they were in the business for anywhere from 3 months to maybe 9 months at a time. And they would help out. And some of them were paid, some of them were unpaid. But nonetheless, I did it all myself.
Yeah. How'd you figure out this whole like manufacturing side of things and the supply chain? Did you source things in Asia? Did you source things locally? And how'd you navigate around that?
Yeah, I started out in Asia. We're now predominantly here in the US. I actually moved to Arizona a couple years ago, and we have a factory now here in Arizona. We also have one in South Carolina. And that's just taken time, but we started out in Asia. I think Asia is a really great spot to do R&D, to get pricing, to really like just solidify the product and start selling it, if that makes sense. It's a lot
Yeah.
easier to have small MOQs in Asia than it is here in the United States. And that's for all sorts of products, even like boxes, for example. And so, yeah, we got started in Asia. And then I found a manufacturer here in about like around 2018, I think, 2019, we started making foam here in the US. Luckily, we've kept with only like less than a handful of companies in terms of factories. So I've been really blessed about that. And we've been doing business with a lot of with these factories for over 5 years now at this point. So yeah, it's a journey, but it's possible. Anyone can do it with the internet now.
When you first found those factories in Asia, were you traveling there to meet with different merchants, going on, or were you going on different websites using vendors to get there?
Yeah, I started out with contacting 20, 30 merchants online, or I guess factories, whatever you want to call them. And when I say we, I mean but we narrowed it down to 20, and then narrowed 20 down to 10, and then 10 down to three. And then when it came to three companies, we had already done like the vetting, the researching, the sampling, the pricing.
Mm,
And really what differentiated between the three is the one at the time had a US rep in the United States. And so I got
gotcha.
to jump on a call with him, and he's like representing this company in Asia, and it sounded legit, and they're a giant corporation there, and they're also in Europe and all sorts of other countries. And so I felt really comfortable with that, and we went in with them. So we eliminated the other two options, but I always had backups. So that was a key thing that I realized and still do till this day, like never put all your eggs in one basket. And so we still will manufacture slash produce like 25% of our goods with
Mm,
another factory just in case something happens. And there's things that can happen. There's fires, there's bankruptcies, there's product liability issues that could happen. Like
yeah.
everyone's heard of these issues with the mold and the Costco mattresses, and there was ones with flame
Mm,
retardants and other mattresses. And we don't deal with any of that stuff, thankfully. But imagine if that happens and everything is at that one factory, your whole entire supply chain is at risk. So yeah, that was a key thing. But yeah, I traveled to Asia once after I had already been doing business with the factory, just to meet them in person, but also get a feel for other factories. And I really felt comfortable with the company that I was with at the time.
I guess you're almost a decade into this game that you have good practices like that as part of your system that I feel like younger entrepreneurs wouldn't necessarily have. Yeah.
Mhm.
How big are you guys now in terms of revenue or in terms of volume? If you're able to share any metrics, like what stage are you guys at now?
Yeah, we're definitely out of the startup stage. We're north of 8 figures now, and we're growing like almost 100% year over year. Well, over 100% year over year. And so it's been a grind though. Since COVID really was the time that COVID was like a reset year for us. And we had just been getting started 2019. That's when I graduated university, and 2020 happened, and we were just told to survive. And so since 2020, the year after 2020, we tripled in sales. The year after that, we tripled. And then the last couple of years, we've been just doubling in sales. And as you grow in more revenue and go over 10 million, it gets harder to continue
Yeah.
to double every year. And we're definitely in a good position. And it's just been a grind to get there, though. I think a lot of people don't realize that to hit 8 figures, I call it 8 figures in 8 years, because that's when I started to when I hit
Yeah.
8 figures. It's a grind. And so we've been fortunate to also along the journey be able to buy out some investors and allow me to retake some ownership of the company. And so we're in a really good spot now as well. And there was a lot of headaches and heartaches over that period of time. We had a partner rip off our product. We had another partner of ours go bankrupt. We had a
Mm,
container company that we shipped with go bankrupt. So it's
yeah.
been a journey.
Well, wishing you a good 2025, hopefully free of
Yeah.
too many big issues like that. But that's really cool, man. I'd love to hear it. And yeah, super impressive. In terms of what do you think is giving you confidence that you guys are going to be able to grow at the same rate again this year? And really, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, are there certain levers that you think there's still more thread to pull on here from an acquisition standpoint that you're confident in?
Yeah, I've always been very conservative. And I think when you lean on the side of conservative, you really have to do what you say you're going to do, if that makes sense. Because this is like, I absolutely feel at least this amount, and I'm going to make sure that we get there in that sense. And what I typically do now that we have a solid 3 or 4 years worth of data, I can see trends when they happen, and I can see metrics as well, percentages year over year or month over month, etc. And if that continues to stay in the right direction, I can almost assure you at a very high confidence level that we're going to double or get close to it. And so that's really what I look at. And we make typically three projections as well. We make a floor projection, and then we make a good, better, best type of projection. And so technically four projections, but the floor is like, this is absolutely what we're going to do no matter if this year sucks ass. And that floor is usually at 50%. And then we just build up from there. So go like 75% growth, 90% growth, 100% growth. And so when we start seeing, okay, last January compared to this January, and we're seeing like, oh, it's up 100%, then that's a pretty good indicator that we're going to probably be at that top line projection. And then you get into February, into March. And if it continues that way, you're more likely going to end up in that upper tier projection. But it gets tough because a lot of our business is seasonal. We will do in 1 month in January, we'll do that in 1 day in July. And so
Yeah.
that's where the numbers get a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, for sure. And when you think about controlling your growth or setting projections and trying to get there, one thing you can definitely control is your paid media spend, and that can help give you some indication of how much revenue you can drive from there. uh, are there any other channels or any other tactics that you're leaning on this year where you're hoping to win out even bigger than you would on those more traditional channels? And specifically, maybe thinking around like affiliate. I see you do some activities there, influencer marketing. What's some of the stuff you got cooking for this year that you think is going to yield dividends?
Yeah, great question. I think 2025 is going to be a year of just sustained growth. And what we do every year is just double everything. So not necessarily everything is doubling in spend and so forth, but we typically try to shoot for around there. And in layman terms, if we spent $1 million on Facebook ads last year, we'll spend $2 million on Facebook ads this year. If we had 50 influencers last year, we'll have 100 influencers this year. If we had 50 affiliates, we'll have 100. And or if affiliates at X number in revenue, et cetera, we'll double it. And so that's really at this point what's proven to work for us. And then in addition to that, we would really love to get into all the affiliate programs on Amazon. On YouTube now has an affiliate program. TikTok Shop, debatable if they're going to stick around, but it looks like they will. I think everyone lost their mind for 12 hours yesterday when TikTok got banned in the United States, but it's back. And so I think really that is the growth moving forward as well. Now, is it going to be like a significant amount of sales coming from that? No, because the reality is our consumer is still very much driven off of Meta. And I think that is for most companies. Like anyone you talk to, it's, hey, where are the majority of your sales coming from? Meta is just that OG machine that just doesn't stop producing results.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're excited though with affiliates and influencers, and you guys have been a tremendous help as well, like keeping our business tight as well.
Yeah. So that's going to be my last question before I let you go. But obviously, we've gotten to meet each other through Storetasker, and it's been awesome to work with you guys. And I don't want to put too many words in your mouth, but I do think of modern D2C brands being able to leverage fractional talent as being in an advantageous position. And I feel like you guys are the prime example of that. So, yeah, can you tell the audience who have you been? What's your setup with Storetasker? Who are you working with from our expert pool, and how has that experience been?
Yeah. Yeah. You guys, as just leaders of Storetasker, you and Charlie have been super helpful. We've gone through a few different people on Storetasker, from web developers. We use a guy named Tyler. He's been there whenever we need him. We've done other stuff like you helped train one of our marketing people on Google Ads. I believe Caitlin helped with that from your guys' team. And, just being able to stay up to date with marketing, we'll touch base and say, okay, we need someone for email. And our team is mostly internal. Everyone except for one or two people are in the office, and we always want to stay up to date with the latest practices. So we're not using like agencies as much as we used to when we first started, or really at all. And so we want to leverage Storetasker because you guys always have top talent, typically people that have come from the agency world, and really use their skill sets. These guys and gals are usually like 10 plus years experience, where our in-person team is typically like 1 to 3 years or so. And so they love learning from you guys. You guys help out a lot. And I'm just impressed, like your guys' roster from when I started to now, it's like the companies that you guys are pulling from, you know, Red Antler and Warby Parker and Harry's, and it's wild because that's the generation of D2C that I grew up in, was that kind of Casper, Warby Parker type of generation almost a decade ago.
Yeah, man, we're big fans of you guys and all these talents that you spoke about. They're loving working with the next generation of startups like you in the D2C space. So yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you, man. Take care.